Hi, welcome to tonight's reading from The Lost Horizon by James Hilton. Last time I had stopped at the end of page 76 and today I start at the top of page 77. So, the High Lama has just informed Conway that he is about to die. So it seemed an extraordinary statement, and for a time Conway was speechless. The High Lama continued, "You are surprised, but we are all mortal, even at Shangri-La. It is possible that I may still have a few moments left to me, or even a few years. All I announce is the simple truth that I already see the end. I am quite content. But I must realize that I have time for only one thing more. Can you imagine what it is?" Conway was silent. "It concerns you, my son." Conway bowed slightly, but did not speak. And the High Lama went on. "You know, perhaps, that the frequency of our talks has been unusual here. But we have no unbreakable rules. We do as we think fit, guided a little by the example of the past, but still more by our present wisdom and by our hope for the future. And that is why I am encouraged to do this final thing." Conway was still silent. "I have waited for you, my son, for quite a long time. I have sat in this room and seen the faces of newcomers and always hoped that someday I might find you. I want you to take my place at Shangri-La." The old man paused and then said gently, "My friend, it is not an impossible thing that I ask you to do. To be gentle and patient, to care for the riches of the mind, to watch over our people here while the storm rages in the outside world. It will all be very pleasantly simple for you, and you will doubtless find great happiness." Conway tried to reply but could not. There was a flash of lightning beyond the curtained window and the distant noise of thunder. And that at last he said, the storm you talk of, it will be such a one, my son, as the world has never seen before. That war will rage until every lovely thing is crushed and all human possessions are levelled to the ground. There will be neither escape nor safety except in a place like Shangri-La, which is too secret to be found and too humble to be noticed. The airmen carrying loads of death to the great cities will not pass our way. And do you think all this will come in my time? I believe you will live through this storm, growing older and wiser and more patient. You will welcome strangers and teach them the role of age and wisdom. And one of these strangers perhaps will succeed you when you are yourself very old. I see at a great distance in the future a new world stirring in the ruins of the old, searching for its lost treasures. And those treasures will all be here, my son, hidden behind the mountains in the valley of Blue Moon, saved by us for the joy and pleasure of the new world." The voice ceased, and Conway saw the face before him grow full of a strange and perfect beauty. It was quite motionless, and the eyes were closed. He watched for a while, and presently, as part of a dream, he realized that the High Lama was dead. Conway stood uncertainly at the window of the darkened room. He could see that the sky was clear, although the lightning still flashed across the mountains. Still in a dream, he knew that he was now master of Shangri-La. These were his beloved things all around him, those calm eternal things with which he could live forever, far away from the anxious hurry of the world. At last he moved out to the courtyards and past the lotus pool. A full moon sailed behind Karakal. Later he realized that Mallinson was near him, holding his arm and leading him away in a great hurry. He did not understand what it was all about, but he could hear that the boy was talking excitedly. Chapter 11. They reached the room where they had meals, and Mallinson said urgently, "Come on, Conway, we must pack our things and get away before sunrise. The porters are about 5 miles beyond the entrance to the mountain path. They came yesterday with loads of books and things, and tomorrow they begin the journey back. I say, what's the matter? Are you ill?" Conway had sunk into a chair and was leaning forward with his arms on the table. He passed his hand across his eyes. "Ill?" he said dreamily. "No, I don't think so. Just rather tired." "It's probably the storm. Where have you been all this time? I've been waiting for you for hours." I was with the High Lama." "Oh, him? Well, it's for the last time anyhow, thank God." "Yes, Mallinson, for the last time." Conway tried to control himself and lit a cigarette. He found that his hands and lips were unsteady. "I'm afraid I don't quite understand," he said. "You say the porters?" "Yes, the porters, man. We have got to start immediately." Immediately, Conway made a second effort to bring himself back from his dream world. He partly succeeded and said at last, "I suppose you realize that it may not be as easy as it sounds. How do you know that the porters will agree to take you with them? It all needs arrangement, careful planning." "Everything has been arranged," said Mallinson impatiently. "The porters have been paid in advance and they have agreed to take us. And here are clothes and food for the journey. All ready. Come on, we must go." He began to put on some Tibetan mountain boots. "But who has made all these plans?" asked Conway. Mallinson answered sharply, "Lord Sen, she's with the porters now. She's waiting." "Waiting?" "Yes, she's coming with us. I hope you don't mind." At the mention of Lobsen, Conway cried sharply, "That's nonsense. It's impossible." "Why is it impossible?" asked Mallinson angrily. "Because, well, it is. There are all sorts of reasons. Take my word for it, it just isn't possible." "It isn't impossible at all," argued Mallinson. "She wants to leave." "But she doesn't want to leave," Conway said. "And that's where you make the mistake. She is perfectly happy here." Mallinson smiled. "Then why did she say she would come with us?" he asked. "She said that? How could she? She doesn't speak English." "I asked her in Tibetan. Miss Brinklow told me what to say." Conway let the cigarette fall from his fingers. He felt tired and worried. He said gently, "Where do you think she will go if she does leave?" "She must have friends in China or somewhere," Mallinson answered. "I'll look after her myself if no one else will. After all, if you are rescuing people from something quite devilish, you don't usually stop to inquire if they have anywhere else to go. And you think Shangri-La is devilish?" "Yes, I do. There's something dark and evil about the place." Conway said slowly, I must tell you something. When you have heard it, you will realize why Lausen can't possibly go back with you. He then gave, as briefly as he could, the whole world story of Shangri-La as he had heard it from the High Lama and Chan. He spoke rapidly and easily. When he reached the end, he felt comforted and he looked up calmly, confident that he had told the story well. But Mallinson merely tapped his fingers on the table and said, after a long wait, I really don't know what to say, Conway, except that you must be completely mad. The two men stared at each other. Conway was surprised and disappointed, and Mallinson was excited, hot and uncomfortable. So you think I'm mad, Conway said at last. Mallinson laughed. Well, I mean, it's all such complete nonsense, he said uncomfortably. All this talk about the lamas being hundreds of years old and knowing a way of keeping young forever, it's absolutely impossible. It's an extraordinary story, I admit, said Conway. But surely you have seen enough with your own eyes to realize that this is an extraordinary place. Think of all that we have actually seen. A lost valley in the middle of unexplored mountains, a monastery with a library of European books. Oh yes, and a central heating plant and European baths. It's all very marvelous, I know. Well, how do you explain it? I don't. It's a complete mystery. But believing in hot baths because you had them is different from believing that people are hundreds of years old, just because they have told you that they are. He looked at Conway anxiously. Come on, Conway, pack up your things and let us go. We'll finish this argument when we get back to India. Conway answered quietly, I have no desire to go back to India at all. Do you mean that you are not coming with me? You are going to stay here like Bernard and Miss Brinklow? Then at last you shan't stop me. And then at least you shan't stop me from getting out of this. Mallinson jumped up and went towards the door. You are mad, he cried wildly, quite mad. Well, I am going. I gave my promise. To Lausen? Yes. Conway got up and held out his hand. Goodbye, Mallinson. For the last time, you are not coming? I can't, Conway replied heavily. They shook hands and Mallinson left. Conway sat alone in the lantern light, thinking of all that the High Lama had told him during their long talks together. After some time, he looked at his watch. It was 10 minutes to 3. He was still at the table smoking the last of his cigarettes when Mallinson returned. The youth stood silently by the door and Conway, after waiting a moment, said, Hello, what's happened? Why have you come back? Mallinson came slowly forward into the room. He pulled off his heavy coat and sat down. His face was white and his whole body was shaking. I was afraid, he said miserably. I got as far as that place where we all roped together and then I couldn't go on. I daren't. He began to laugh and cry at the same time. These fellows needn't worry, he said wildly. No one will ever threaten Shangri-La by land. But my God, I would like to fly over with a load of bombs. And why would you like to do that, Mallinson? Because the place wants smashing up. It is unhealthy and unclean. A lot of horrible old men sitting here like spiders, waiting to trap anyone who comes near. It's disgusting. Oh, why won't you come away with me, Conway? I hate begging you to come for my own sake, but I am young and I must get away. And Lausen, she is young too. Doesn't she matter at all? Lausen is not young, said Conway. Mallinson looked up. Oh no, not young. Not young at all. She looks about 17, but I suppose you'll tell me that she's really about 90. Mallinson, she came here in 1884. You are mad, man. Her beauty can only live where beautiful things are loved. Take her away from this valley, and you will see her beauty fade. She will turn into an old woman. Mallinson laughed harshly. I am not afraid of that, he said. What evidence can you give me for this story, and what proofs have you? Has Lawson ever told you her history? No, but then why believe it from someone else? You say they use a sort of drug to keep them young. Well, I want to know what drug. Have you ever seen it or tried it? No, said Conway slowly. And Conway began to wonder if perhaps Mallinson was right, and that he himself had believed all these things because he had so desperately wanted to believe them. And you never asked for details? Mallinson urged. You just swallowed the story whole? He saw the shadow of doubt on Conway's face and continued. And all this talk about a future war. How does anyone know when the next war is going to be, or what it will be like? Conway remained silent, and Mallinson went on desperately. I don't understand you, but I wish I did. Oh, I wish I did. Conway, can't I probably help you? Isn't there anything I can say or do? There was a long silence after that, which Conway broke at last by saying, There's just one question I would like to ask. I hope you'll forgive me for asking it. Yes? Are you in love with Lawson? Mallinson answered softly, I think I am. I know you'll say it is unthinkable, but I can't help my feelings. I can't help my feelings either, Conway said. You and that girl are the two people in the world whom I care most about, although you may think it strange. He got up and paced the rooms, worried and upset. How can you really know that Lawson is young? He asked suddenly, and waited in breathless silence. So much depended on the answer. Mallinson half turned away and spoke softly over his shoulder. Because I do know, he said. You have never properly understood her, Conway. She was cold on the surface, but that was the result of living here. It had frozen all the warmth, but the warmth was there. And you have unfrozen it? Yes. And she is young, Mallinson? You are so sure of that? Mallinson answered, Good God, yes, she is just a girl. Conway went to the window and looked out at the silvery whiteness of Caracal. It came to him that a dream had gone, like all other lovely things, at the first touch of reality. He was not really unhappy, but he was deeply and rather sadly puzzled. He did not know whether he had been mad and was now sane, or whether he had been sane for a time and was now mad again. But Mallinson had sworn that Lawson was really young, and surely he must know. Suddenly Conway turned and faced the young man. Do you think you could manage that difficult bit with the rope if I came with you? He asked. Mallinson sprang forward. Conway, he cried, you mean you'll come? You made up your mind at last? They left as soon as Conway had prepared himself for the journey. It was surprisingly simple to leave, a departure rather than an escape. They met no one as they crossed the shadowed courtyards. Mallinson talked unceasingly about the journey, although Conway had hardly heard him. How strange that their long argument should end like this, that this lovely secret place should be left so suddenly by him after he had found such happiness here. Less than an hour later, they stopped breathlessly at a bend in the path and saw the last of Shangri-la. Deep below them, the valley of Blue Moon looked like a cloudy sea, with the scattered roofs of the houses floating in it like little colored boats. Conway prepared the rope for the steepest part of the climb. He knew that he was a wanderer between two worlds and must wander forever, lost between dreams and reality. But for the present, all he felt was that he liked Mallinson and must help him. This was the part of the climb which Mallinson had been afraid to make alone, but Conway got him over in true mountaineering fashion. When they reached the top, they rested for a few minutes, and Mallinson said, "Conway, I must say it is very good of you. Perhaps you guess how I feel. I can't tell you how grateful I am." "Then don't try to tell me," said Conway gently. At sunrise, they reached the porter's camp. They found the men waiting for them, ready and eager to begin the journey to Tachin Phu, 1100 miles eastward on the China border. "He's coming with us?" Mallinson cried excitedly when they met Lord Sen. Sorry. He forgot that she knew no English, but Conway translated. It seemed to him that the little Manchu had never looked so happy. She gave him a lovely smile, but her eyes were on Mallinson. That's the end of that chapter. Now, epilogue. I think we'll finish reading epilogue and close today's reading. It was in Delhi that I met Rutherford again. I knew from the newspapers that he had just returned from Kashgar. "So you did search for Conway?" I said. "Search is too strong a word," he answered. "You can't search a country half as big as Europe just for one man. All I can say is that I visited places where I thought I might get news of him. His last message, you remember, was that he had left Bangkok for the northwest. I traced him up country for a little way, but I never expected to be able to find him from that end. You thought it might be easier to look for the Valley of the Blue Moon? Only little bit remains. Yes, it seems a more possible line of approach. Rutherford lit a cigarette and continued. It meant a good deal of travelling. I must have gone thousands of miles. I visited Baskul, Bangkok, Changkliang and Kashgar, and Shangri-La lies somewhere inside the area between them. But it's a very big area, and my inquiries didn't touch more than the edge of it." "So you didn't find anything in Tibet?" "My dear fellow, I never got into Tibet at all," Rutherford said. "The government people told me, and they were quite right, that all the passports in the world couldn't have got me over the Quinlan." That's the last part of it. Okay, so I'll stop here. This is the top of page 91. There's a very little bit remaining, and I'll leave it as a little suspense for you for next time. Thank you, and bye-bye. Thanks for being with me.